Tolman, former U.S. attorney and former Senate Judiciary Committee counsel. Brett, this is a big moment for the Supreme Court. Donald Trump noting on Truth Social the following, quote, "If they take away my presidential immunity, they take away crooked Joe Biden's presidential immunity." But the question is, typically presidents, while they're in office, have not faced any sort of charges or indictment. But does that follow them after they leave office?
Yeah, I mean, we really are talking about the heart of why there is immunity while they're in office. I mean, keep in mind, the founders, they struggled with separation of powers, and they attempted to address that issue head on when they created the immunity for a president. And remember, they also did something else that's very telling that I think might illuminate what the Supreme Court will do. They also indicated that they were not going to prevent someone from running for office if they were convicted of a felony. When you take those two efforts by the founders of this country to make sure that those who wielded the power of the prosecution, the executive branch, that they couldn't use it against political opponents, now you start to get a basis and a foundation for why immunity is such an important thing. I think the Supreme Court is very definitely going to be reviewing, do we allow the prosecution of a former president for behavior while he was president? And it smacks against everything that the founders did leading up to the creation of these separation of powers. So I think that the Supreme Court is probably going to rule in Trump's favor.
Interesting. Well, we'll be hearing the audio of the court proceedings tomorrow as well, so that'll be something to listen to. So in the case, the hush money case against Donald Trump, the state of New York is now coming up with a new crime, conspiracy to promote or prevent election. This is how it's codified in New York law. Quote, "Any two or more persons who conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, and which conspiracy is acted upon by one or more of the parties thereto, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor." The president's attorney, Todd Blanche, says, newsflash here, there's no underlying crime. He said, quote, "I have a spoiler alert. There's nothing wrong with trying to influence an election. It's called democracy. They put something sinister on it." So where does this case stand in your mind?
Well, it is, quite fascinating to watch the prosecution wring hands and try to create something that really isn't there. And think about how circular this is. They're saying that he made a false business record, that he falsifies the business record surrounding how he documented the payment that went to his attorney, that ultimately money that transferred to Stormy Daniels. Now, that's the crime they brought. They brought a case against him for falsifying the business record. Now they're saying it has to be done in order to conceal another crime. And the other crime that we're going to say that he did, it was the conspired to win an election through the falsification of the payment of the money. It's circular, and it's not what the statute is intended to allow. What they really should be articulating is some other crime. But guess what? He's right. Hush money is not, paying someone to be quiet is not a crime. And also paying individuals to get rid of stories that you don't think are true or that you think are prejudicial is not a crime. So I'm not sure where they're going to go with this theory of the case.
Yeah, and the alleged falsification of funds happened after he became president. So how do you retroactively affect the outcome of an election with that payment? I don't know. Brett Tolman, great to get your thoughts. We'll be watching the Supreme Court tomorrow, and of course, the Trump case as well. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.